Now this is kind of like magic. George W. Bush on the front page of the New York Times riding to the rescue of the Republicans. Bush emerges an unlikely aide to split party. And yet, there's no interview with the former president. There is an interview with his spokesman who doesn't say much. But through the magic of journalism, Bush, a very sympathetic story to the former president, coming out to ameliorate the damage, as this story has it, of Donald Trump. Now, it is hardly a secret that George W. Bush was not a fan of Donald Trump's. After all, Donald Trump ran against his brother. Bush was out there a little bit on the campaign trail, but things got pretty harsh between Jeb and the Donald. And Bush had already announced, former President Bush that is, that he was not going to the convention in Cleveland. But this story focuses on the fact that George W. Bush, who basically, other than a few speeches he gave on Jeb's behalf, has pretty much stayed out of politics since leaving the White House almost 8 years ago, is getting active on the fundraising trail for Republican senators. Kelly Ayotte is mentioned, as is John McCain, whose seats might be jeopardized by having Trump at the top of the ticket. That's the way the New York Times frames this story. So the only direct, or actually indirect, reference to the former president's views is this paragraph. Friends say the former president is deeply bothered by Mr. Trump's campaign message, especially his derogatory remarks about Muslims and immigrants. And then there is an event that Bush did for McCain where he stressed the importance of keeping the Republican Senate as a check and balance on the White House. Left unsaid is who that balance and check would be against, President Trump or President Hillary Clinton. Now, there's another side to this. The story touches on it, but I think it deserves more attention, and that is, look, Donald Trump got 13 million Republican votes running not just against Jeb Bush, running against George W. Bush. He broke with the Bush approach to immigration. He broke with the Bush approach to Social Security. Remember when the former president wanted to privatize Social Security? Donald Trump doesn't want to change a thing. And of course, he repeatedly and forcefully and harshly criticized President Bush's decision to invade Iraq. And more than once, he pointed out that 9/11 happened on George Bush's watch. So one could say that however much George W. Bush, and I give him credit for taking a kind of a hands-off, above the fray approach to politics, however much he may not like what the guy who now wants his old job is doing, you have to point out that essentially what Republican voters want in this election, they rejected Bushism. They rejected the George W. Bush style, his brand of Republicanism, even the tone in which he talks about politics, for Donald Trump. So of course there's not going to be any great love between these two parties, but think about the surgical way in which Bush pulls this off. I don't know, how active he was in shaping the story or whether the Times went out and talked to people around him, but he doesn't want to sully his image as being about politics, so there isn't even a friend quoted directly as saying, man, you can't stand that guy Trump. It's all very gentlemanly, and yet Bush in this piece is cast as helping out the party to ameliorate any damage that a Trump candidacy might do. That tells you something about the Bush style, but also, I think, undersells a little bit what Trump accomplished in getting enough Republicans to reject the Bush brand of politics and of conservatism that Donald Trump is the Republican nominee.